With Parashat Toledot, we now look at Yitzhak and Rivka. After having been married last week, they now are looking at starting a family. But Rivka is barren, and Yitzhak, unlike his father, will not entertain having children with concubines. It is either Rivka or no one, as the Hachamim say. And so he prays to God and asks for God's mercy that Rivka should conceive. Indeed, she does. And she finds that she is pregnant with twins. She's terribly distraught over the pregnancy because the twins are struggling within her constantly and she suffers as a result of it. But she is told by God that there are two nations inside her, that ultimately these twins that are born are going to father great nations that will struggle between the two. She gives birth, and the first to come out is Esav. He's ruddy and hairy. And on his heel is his brother's hand, grasping tightly. And being that his brother is grasping tightly to the heel, called Ekev in Hebrew, Yaakov is the second to come out and named Yaakov because of his grasping of the Ekev of his brother Esav. The twins grow up. Esav seems to have a strong penchant for hunting, whereas Yaakov is much more a homebody and connected to living a simple life. Yitzhak, we are told, loves Esav, and Rivka loves Yaakov. There was special affinity that the parents had for these two children. There is a famine in the land, and Yitzhak wants to go down to Gerar. He thinks perhaps to go down to Egypt, but God says, you are not to leave the land of Canaan. You stay here, not like your father Abraham, and I will watch you and take care of you. Similar stories occurred to Yitzhak that occurred to Abraham. And so he too tells Abimelech that his wife is his sister. And the same kind of thing ensues in the story, and where there is this discrepancy and ultimately a clarity around it. Wells are dug, the same wells that his father dug before, Yitzhak continues to do, but Yitzhak digs wells, finds water, and he gets into disputes with the local peoples. Yitzhak, nonetheless, ends up becoming a very wealthy man. And so the people of Gerar recognize that he is blessed by God and he is wealthy, and they wish to create a pact with him so that he does not end up causing them any harm or difficulty through his power and strength of assets and wealth. And so they do establish a pact between them. It is time for looking at the future generations. Yitzhak is getting old and he is blind, and he wants to give a blessing to his son Esav. And so he asks Esav to go out to hunt and to bring him dinner, and that in the eating of this dinner and the joy that he has for what it is that his son brings him, he will feel a blessing and give over a blessing to his son. Rivka hears this and she is displeased with Yitzhak's plan. She doesn't want Yitzhak to give this blessing to Esav. She thinks it will be a bad idea. And so she tells Yaakov to pose as Esav and to take the blessing that is intended for Esav. Yaakov is very concerned about this. He'll be seen as deceitful by his father. Alai kilelatcha beni. It is on me that is your curse, my son. I will take it all. Just do what I tell you to do. So Yaakov does what his mother Rivka tells him to do, and he steps into his father, brings him dinner. His father is concerned that this is not necessarily the son that he's looking for. He asks him point blank, who are you? And Yaakov says to him, I am your son Esav. And so Yaakov, expressing himself that way to his father hearing this, knowing that there is something off, but nonetheless that he will agree to give the blessing to whomever it is that's standing in front of him. So he does. He gives the blessing to Yaakov, and just as Yaakov is leaving, in comes Esav with the dinner that Yitzhak had asked him for. And Esav is told and realizes that the blessing that he was expecting from his father was already given. It was given to his brother Yaakov. This enrages Esav because earlier in the parasha, Yaakov does something similar to his brother. He is making lentil soup, and Esav comes in from the field, exhausted, and he asks for some of the soup. And Yaakov says to him, sure, you can have some soup, but first sell me your birthright. Esav says, birthright? Who needs a birthright? I'm going to die. You can have it. Just give me some of the soup. I want the red stuff. And so Esav gulps down the soup, and it says that he gets up and scorns his birthright. And so Esav realizes that the things that are important to him in this life somehow are slipping into the hands of his brother Yaakov, and he screams a bitter cry at realizing this. He begs his father for another beracha. His father says, I've given the beracha away. What can I do for you, my son? He says, surely there must be something else that you can give me. And so his father essentially says to him, listen, I've given him power and strength. What I can say to you is that if you have the capacity to rebel and pull his yoke off of your neck, well, then you will get strength and power. And Yaakov is essentially given a further blessing by his father that he should be fruitful and multiply and have children. Rivka realizes that Esav is enraged as a result of this. Indeed, Esav thinks to himself that after his father dies, he will murder his brother Yaakov. Rivka sends Yaakov away to her brother Laban. Esav sees that Yaakov is sent away, and he remains at home. There is an underlying issue that seems to run here, and that is who their children should marry. They don't like the Hittite women. Rivka, in fact, says, I'm sickened by the Hittite women that Esav actually is married to, that she does not